All right, now we're back. Reboot. We're live. So before we left, because I know you're on a limited time frame, but I said that the course is a brute. It's you eject a lot. We left off there. PGA National, always low single digit winning scores, which indicate a very tough course. Top 5 on tour in recent years. What say you this week about the course and what people know about PGA National?
I think that all of the history holds true. You know, we've got a lot of data since 2007 that shows the way that this golf course is played. You got to be great on approach. Number one bucket's 175 to 200, and you got to be a good Bermuda grass putter. That being said, what's unique to this year or this edition, other than the new name, is that Southeast Florida's had a lot of terrible weather. And as a result, the growing conditions for turf haven't been very good. And they use a rye overseed for the rough. And it's been sparse, it's been thin. It hasn't been growing in as well as tournament organizers would have liked to have seen. I was there last year on property, and that place was as lush and as velvety as can be. So I think that one of the ways that you can find an edge at this place for this calendar year is maybe taking a couple guys that have a little more power and aren't as worried about missing the fairway as they would have been in years prior. Maybe it's not as positional, not as Pebble Beachy, not as YLAE as it was just for this one standout year because of the grass and the turf and the growing conditions. Greens are going to be a little bit softer. So maybe if you do come from the rough, which isn't as dense, you'll be able to hold some greens that are over some of those holes that have those, penalty areas or what I like to call water hazards from back in the day. So I think that with limited time, that's the number one thing that I think is going to give people an edge against people that aren't really paying attention to what's going on site.
So you get a player like Rory's won before. Let's start with that. Let's start there. Miscut. In recent years, people have said in the Discord, and I've talked to pros before, and you probably know this, and you may have a different stance than me, but I've asked pros who've won on tour, is there ever a week where you just go out and don't want to compete or win? Are you there to practice? Or do you throw away, this is a private conversation, do you throw away a shot to miss a cut? In all instances, he said, no, never. I don't see Rory coming out here and saying, listen, I'm fine with a miscut. What say you here about him and his state of his game? He seemed off to me at Riviera a little bit. He seems checked out of the inner circle of golf. He seems a little disenfranchised. That's how I feel about him. And even his commentary about, Cantlay, et cetera. He's the highest owned player this week. I'm going to be wrong on that because I thought he wouldn't be, but I think he will be.
So your first comment about taking a swing off or something like that. I think all of these guys, when they're in the heat of competition, want to do the best they can. That being said, if he's working on something in his golf swing, say it's golfer X, we'll use somebody who's not there, Max Homa. Let's say Max hasn't been playing well lately. Well, maybe he's working on a swing change that he's preparing for to be better in majors. Tiger did not only change the way that we prepare, physically, mentally, the way you train, but he also changed the way that we prepare. Part of what doesn't really throw me off too much about this early season, the big names not winning, is that maybe they're really starting to figure out that you have to peak for the majors. Nobody's looking. Torrey Pines is not, you don't get a green jacket, right? So Riviera, the same thing. Those are good, I guess, testing points for where you are. But when you see guys that aren't really playing their best, chances are they're working on something that is more long-term motivated as far as a goal goes. That being said, we just saw Rory on Monday night at the match. I know it's a hit and giggle, but he should have dominated that field. He should have flat dominated that field, and he did not. So I still feel like whatever we saw at Riv is relevant in the Rory world as we come into this week. Now, Rory's
do you think it's political or do you think it's gameplay? Like, do you think it's something in his head because of how he was treated and he's sort of isolated from maybe the top leadership now, like a Cantlay? Or do you think it's swing related?
I think it's like our Wi-Fi. It needed a reset. I think it's that simple. I think that there was so much junk going on there. He needed to unplug, and now he's replugging in. And let's be honest, Rory has one goal right now in his career, and that's to win the Masters. So he's doing everything in his power right now to get ready for 7 weeks from now, not 7 hours from now. Plain and simple.
So,
That's it.
Okay, 12-2 Rory, be careful. Be careful, right?
Yeah, I mean, at 12-2, he has to win, right, to make the numbers work. So
sometimes, but they do 5K pricing now. So I know you're on the betting side. That's you read the line. Keith Stewart, PGA, has the angles and sharp takes that I've always admired over the years. We've got a great team here at RPS, but follow him at read the line _ and for all internet takes, he's your man. Quick internet fixes, Keith Stewart. Valmaki last week was an incredible call. That came out of nowhere for us, but it really inspired our Discord to really take stock of what you were saying, right? Do you have anything this week that you're hearing from the ground or seeing, or the style players? Here's the first person that comes out to me like a shining beacon is Keith Mitchell, okay? I think he's playing well. I think he dominates on the Florida swing. He's won here before. I think his game fits this week.
Never underestimate the value of the rug. And what I'm telling you there is that there are Bermuda grass players. It is the worst grass to play on by far. It's the most challenging. It's the most frustrating. I don't care what anybody says about bumpy POA in February in California, right? The grain on Bermuda really befuddles people. And a guy like Keith Mitchell, that's a Southeast, an SEC type guy, Georgia guy. If he played well out west on POA and other grasses, those guys are looking for that opportunity to come back to the East and get on these grasses. So a guy like Russell, a guy like JT, those guys that were in good form, but just couldn't get across the finish line out there at whatever pricing level you're looking at. If they're a Bermuda grass guy and you know that for a fact and they're already playing well, look for them to pop this week. It's going to happen.
Daniel Berger, right? A killer.
Daniel,
are you nodding? I mean, I think he showed enough already that he's not satisfied with just hopping around the tour. He is a killer. He's like Will Z.
Oh yeah,
wins.
Yeah, and the recency bias from Will Z. I'm glad you bring that up. Will goes 13th at Farmers, then you put him in a comfortable place, and he goes off at Riviera. Okay, Daniel Berger is set up to do the same thing. He's shown that he's healthy. Just from a coach's point of view, what he has done to transform his golf swing, his body, is really, really difficult. And I saw him on the range there at Phoenix, and he looked great. He does 28 or top 30 there. And he went through a major change to do that, which lengthened how long he was going to take off because his game just wasn't ready. You put him at a place where he's super comfortable. And why is he comfortable at, I was going to say Honda, but why is he comfortable at Cognizant? Because he flights the golf ball well. He plays a low fade that fits most of the holes off the tee. It also, there's going to be winds out of the southeast. It means the Bearcat plays downwind, but also, there's a number of water hazards that come into play. It's one of those things where that type of golfer that can find the fairway and flight the golf ball is very dangerous here. And he would be a guy that certainly I have my eye on. Do I think he's ready to win yet? Sure. He certainly has he has the stones to do it. He definitely, but I definitely think that he's going to be a factor this week. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think the two ones I'm very nervous about because they're going to be highly owned. And, Ben On is the first person off on Thursday. And we know how what happens when Ben On is the first player sweeping on the course. He throws down a 12 under and you don't think you can get him. I'm not sure I can chase that much ownership in Ben On. But Eric Cole, talk to me about Eric Cole.
Yeah, Eric Cole is impressive, man. And he's treating this like a Super Bowl. There's no doubt about that. He took a week off last week. He's the only guy that had played, I think, every single week of the first 7 or the first 6, and then he took a week off. So he's thinking ahead to this, that he has a legitimate chance to break through as a winner. He's going to have the hometown support. He's on a grass that he's comfortable with. And again, to go back to the grass point, okay, let's use Russell Henley. Russell was striking the ball great, or JT Poston, striking the ball great. Had good results, solid results out there on the West Coast. Come to Bermuda. We hope for them to pop. Conversely, Sung Jae Im, a name that we always hear at the Honda, at the Cognizant, right here at PGA National. Sung Jae, he's really struggling with his iron game, right? For whatever reason he is. And he's been good at places like Farmers out on the West Coast. He's been good at the Century, and he didn't show that this year. For him coming to Bermuda grass, I don't think that's going to be the solution. So just to kind of characterize what I'm saying there is that the guy has, if they're showing form and the change of the carpet gives them the edge that they usually need to win, then I like those guys. If they haven't been shown form out west, I don't think this is some sort of magic pixie dust they're going to pick up from Orlando on a trip through Disney World or something like that. You know, they're going to need to show some form at least to get my dollars and cents. And, you know, even to the point where the carpet matters so much to, like, let's go with a guy like Ben Griffin, right?
Sure.
Where does Ben Griffin play well? Well, golly, look what he's done at Sanderson. Look what he's done in Bermuda. Look what he's done here in Florida. Last year, Ben Griffin, when you rip through a stretch like here, Bay Hill, Players, and the guys gained 5.5 strokes total on average per week last year. And, you know, he has no experience at those places. You know that understanding and being able to putt towards the rip on these greens is a big deal. And those are the guys I'd be favoring this week for sure.
Two names that have been really impressive. One, Andrew Novak, right? Top 10 in. Yep. I think Chris McDonald goes, the carpet matters in many aspects of life. Yes.
Well, there's a lot of puns there, folks. Okay.
Yes.
Just have fun with it.
That's how sharp Keith is. He's burying these.
Yeah.
No, but Andrew Novak, top 10 strokes gained tee to green. We know he's a good putter. He's a guy in form coming into this place that I really like at a very low price from a DFS perspective. And the other one's Justin Lauer, right? When has he not been performing well? Another top 10 last week, I think. Just a great golfer all around. Who are some of your dark horses that you think, outside of the ones we talked about, that may be coming in here under the radar? Like Valmaki last week was a perfect example.
Yeah. I mean, you got to go deeper down the board for that. You know, I just mentioned one, Ben Griffin, right?
Sure.
He had an okay West, but he's one of these Florida guys that he was good enough that the change in agronomy makes a difference, right? Conversely, I wouldn't go after a Lee Hodges. You know, I kind of like the fact that I like the way Grayson Sigg was hitting the ball out there on the West Coast. I saw him play. He was playing with Joel Damon out there in the desert, walked a bunch of holes with him, and he just couldn't putt. You bring him, another SEC guy, back to, you know, where the grass that he's comfortable on, he's probably going to make a couple more putts, and he's somebody down there, you know, near the bottom of the list. I don't know how I feel about. I feel good about Novak, but Lauer, I don't know if I feel good about that.
We hear a lot about being in control of your ball, right? I know that's a broad statement and very difficult to do week to week, but here especially, like the guys who are in control of their ball don't have to hit it necessarily 350 yards. But you say that may change this week because of the changes in the setup. But Chris Kirk, perfect example. Not a long hitter, but always seems to be in control of his ball. Won here before. Golf is about what have you done for me lately? Literally lately. What have you done for me in the last 24 hours? People will forget about Chris Kirk. It's one guy that may get a little bit of ownership bounce because people will be on Ben On or Eric Cole, especially.
Yeah.
But you know, the guys that you see that are, quote, can stay in control of the ball, are not too erratic, are like a Chris Kirk, Tom Hoagie, right? You really put me on to his iron game out at Riviera. And now he's decently priced. And again, it's what have you done for me lately? Or Steven Yeager, very heavily owned last week, but always playing well. Disappointing at Torrey Pines, but a guy, you know, that could have won and now continues to play well. Are the Hoagies, the Yeagers, those guys even guys you're eyeing this week? Or even Chris Kirk again?
So what did Kirk do last year? He goes third Sony, third Amex, misses a cut in the desert, wins Honda. How about this year? We've got a guy like a JT Poston, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people are all over him, and with good reason. You know, he goes like 5, 6 in Hawaii, then he's 11 at Amex, 20 at Pebble, misses the cut, then comes back 10 at Genesis. Sea Island guy, like a Chris Kirk, very similar game. You know, you love that fit. But overall, this is a true iron test. the par threes really encapsulate. It's a microcosm for what you need to do on this golf course to score. All of them play over par. All of them are super difficult. If you're a great par three scorer, you're a great iron player, and you're also pretty good around the green because you don't hit all your greens in regulation. And of course, if you're good here, you could putt Bermuda. So a guy like Tom Hoge, who's the best approach player currently in the field on tour, he has a huge advantage. And he's proven before that he could putt on various strains of Bermuda grass, right? He's had a great career up at Players. Now that's not straight Bermuda, but at the same time, he's been very difficult. He's been very good on difficult golf courses. Why? Because he flushes the ball, right? So a guy like Hoge, or the name for you, that's tonight, but I still think he's striking ball with the 10 of the guys playing in the field this week. And he's a relatively good putter, on any carpet, right? So for him, I mean, the drapes match the carpet. For him, he's got the long game and he's got the putter, right? So like overall, like I don't care what innuendo you want to get in there. This looks he looked extremely comfortable out on tour on the West Coast. He's a South African guy. He was traveling with his family.
You said Bazandahut, by the way. Your internet chopped, but I got Bazandahut out of it, right?
Yeah, Bazandahut,
right?
Yeah, Seabez. Yeah. And so when you talk about good ball strikers, Hoge, Bazandahut, Svensson, not as good a putter, but great ball striking. These are guys that I would have all over my lineup. They would be the foundation of my lineup.
Flushers. I mean, because 15, 16, 17, the bear trap. That's where things get ugly for a lot of the golfers, right? And again, you have every year historically, sometimes there's sun running and putting with Ricky Fowler, but historically it's been approach with capabilities around the green. It's been your iron game here, period. With no luck boxing on tough courses. So you can identify those people. Svensson, a good one.
Yeah. I mean, Svensson hit it so good at Riv. Putter wasn't great. So if you go Svensson versus Seabez, you go Seabez because they're both hitting it great, but Seabez is a better putter. If you're looking for pure ball strikers, Svenny's getting himself into that category very quickly. And what scares me about Rory is that the ball striking was on the West Coast. It was like just look Rory like, and that's fine. We can play other people, but I don't know. I'm interested. The next 2 weeks I'll be on the road. I'll be interested to see Rory's very comfortable at Bay Hill, and he's had obviously success at the Players. If Rory gets back to being Rory the next couple weeks, then we know that it's going to be a green light special heading up to Magnolia Lane, which will be kind of fun.
Who right now? You've got to go. Who right now? Great Colin Velmaki. Absolutely. That's what the Discord was saying. And Keith's in our Discord now. Well, he'll be in our Discord hanging out. Right now.
So somebody said Hoge made no cuts here. Look at what years those were. That was before he learned to win on the PGA Tour. That was a long time ago. Yes, he missed 4 cuts in a row. I get that, right? But he's a good Florida golfer. He's a very good wind golfer. He's a very good approach golfer, right? Sometimes, recency bias can work for and against you. Just look when he was playing Honda. So just as a point.
Good point. There you go, Sports Life. Got your gut right now. What's it saying? If you had to say, this is probably one of the top guys I'm looking at this week. Who's your Velmaki this week? Is it Ben Griffin?
Oh, down in that land, I like Ben Griffin. And
overall, if it's not Ben Griffin, who?
Ooh, I think this could be a week where Sam Ryder comes back into the fold.
Wow, that's from downtown.
And he's in the 5s.
Why? Why Sam Ryder? Same reason?
The ball striking. When Sam needed a reset, and I'm not saying that he's going to be some kind of a winner or even a Valimaki. I mean, Valimaki, great. Second, I just thought Valimaki was trending in my mind to be a top 15 consideration. So, he hit his ceiling. Thank God. Great. Awesome. I love that for everybody. But I think that Ryder needed an East Coast shift. And he would be one of those guys, I think, down at the way bottom that is a little bit undervalued for how much he loves that place and how much his ball striking will give him an edge and not put him in the water.
You know, the other name that, again, what have you done for me lately, who looked fantastic at Riv, and I finally had to cave that maybe he can putt now. And PGA Tour put out a tweet that says, you know, Luke List misses no putts, which, you know, we all had to be like, kind of not true. But Luke List looks fantastic.
He looks very good. Just look at his Bermuda. It's tough.
It's the carpet.
It's tough, man. You know, it's oh golly, you know, like, okay, so if we're doing a matchup and you have a Hoagie or a Bez going against the Luke List and they're all hitting the ball great, you got to favor the guy that has shown a propensity to score on Bermuda, and especially like at the top of the board. Yeah, and you know, a lot of people are fading Cam Young, or they're wondering about the struggles of Matt Fitzpatrick and everything. Go with what you saw in the West that works.
Yeah.
Model them for some Bermuda grass. Whoever pops, they're going to be the same names that you're hearing online, and then we'll see what happens. And then probably Akshay at 250 to 1 will win. So
Cole Kirk, Henley on Berger,
Postman.
Mitchell, Postman.
Yeah, Hoagie.
And Akshay
bet.
Wins.
Hoagie bet.
Yeah.
Probably.
All right, brother. You got a meeting. Thank you. The internet held up for the most part.
Awesome.
We'll
talk soon.
We'll see you in the Discord.
Yep.
Thanks. He left me. He left me live. Hang on a second. I can't leave the show without doing an outro. 1 second. There we go. Let me check the Discord here. Keith likes Rough Rider. Yes, McDonald. The Discord says Sam Ryder. Keith says Sam Ryder. Let's roll with it. This one worked. Thanks, Rubio.